Good evening. The meeting of the Monroe Township Board of Education will come to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Mr. Gorski, may we please have a roll call?
Certainly. Mrs. Arminio.
Here.
Mr. Braverman.
Here.
Mr. Chiarella.
Here.
Mrs. DeMayo.
Here.
Mrs. Koloponowicz.
Here.
Mrs. Lang.
Here.
Mrs. Lang is participating via teleconference this evening in accordance with the board policy. Mrs. Carino.
Here.
Mr. Ryback.
Here.
Mr. Russo.
Here.
And Mr. Rutsky.
Here.
Madam Board President, you have a quorum present this evening. And in accordance with the provisions of the New Jersey Open Public Meetings Law, the Monroe Township Board of Education has caused notice of this meeting to be published by having the date, time, and place thereof posted July 13th, 2018 at all schools, the Home News Tribune, Cranberry Press, and filed with the clerk of the municipality.
Thank you, Mr. Gorski. So before we go on to the rest of the agenda, I would like to introduce the new face at the board table tonight, who is the acting superintendent, Mr. Rob Goodall. And he will take over his responsibilities as soon as we go into closed session and come out and support his new contract. So at this time, I'm going to read the closed session resolution. Be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Township of Monroe hereby moves to go into closed session in accordance with Sunshine Law, Chapter 231 of the Public Laws of 1975, NJSA 10:4-6 through 10:4-21, to discuss the following subject: proposed acting superintendent contract. Following closed session, action may be taken. The discussion conducted in closed session can be disclosed to the public at such time as the need for confidentiality no longer exists.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Ryback, second by Mr. Chiarella. All in favor?
I just have
Aye.
a question.
Ms.
It
Arminio?
says on here that there are two other things to discuss. We won't be discussing them now.
We will be discussing, you probably don't have an updated agenda, but it's on the second public forum, or the
Okay.
second
That's
closed
fine.
session resolution.
That's fine, just check. No.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So at this time, the board will move into closed session, and I don't think we should take more than 15, 20 minutes to do this.
Hello again.
Hello, Mrs. Lang. Mike Gorski and Kathy back at the main
Good.
media center desk.
Oh, good.
Okay,
We'll
Patty?
resume in a minute, it looks like.
Yeah,
Okay.
we're just waiting for Mr. Braverman to get back. Okay, at this time, the board will move back into public session, and I believe Mr. Ryback has a resolution to read.
I do, thank you. It is recommended that the Board of Education, 1, approve the previously submitted employment contract between the Monroe Township Board of Education and Robert Goodall for the period from July 1st, 2018 through June 30th, 2019, or until such time as a permanent superintendent is appointed by the board, whichever is sooner, at an annual salary of $186,000 a year, which employment contract has been approved by the Executive County Superintendent of Schools in accordance with NJAC 6A23A-3.1. And 2, appoint Robert Goodall as acting superintendent of schools in the Monroe Township School District in accordance with the terms and conditions of the aforementioned employment contract. The board president and the business administrator, board secretary, as the attesting witness, is authorized to execute the aforementioned employment contract on behalf of the board.
So moved.
Well, it was moved by Mr. Ryback.
Oh, second.
A second by Mr. Chiarella. Any comments or questions by the board? Ms. Arminio?
Yeah, I would just like the public to know, and sort of my own edification, who did the negotiating with Mr. Goodall?
Mr. Ryback and myself with Mrs. Smith.
Okay. And then it was brought, after that, it was brought to Personnel Committee, no? It went
No,
to the,
it usually goes to the whole board.
okay, but it went to the county, so it was negotiated.
It did go to personnel, didn't
Yes,
it?
it
It did
did.
go to personnel.
But it didn't go to the whole board before it was sent to the county, is that correct?
That is correct.
So the whole board was not privy to the contract prior to it going to the county and prior?
I believe there was an issue with the county requesting the contract as soon as possible because of a possibility that they would close down the state, and they wanted to have all the contracts for July 1st. They wanted to see them and have them approved.
Okay. And I would request we reverse the voting order for this evening, for this resolution. I'd like to vote last.
Okay. Any other comments or questions? Then we will have a reverse roll call.
Starting with you, Mrs. Koloponowicz.
Yes.
Mr. Rutsky.
Yes.
Mr. Russo.
Not having been involved in the process, I have to abstain from this.
So noted. Mr. Ryback.
Yes.
Mrs. Carino.
Recuse?
Thank you. Mrs. Lang.
Yes.
Mrs. DeMayo.
Yes.
Mr. Chiarella.
Yes.
Mr. Braverman.
Yes.
Mrs. Arminio.
Yes.
Madam Board President, that is 8 yeas, motion passes.
Thank you very much, and congratulations, Mr. Goodall. Welcome to the Board of Education, and we hope you have a successful time here. And I've said to a few people, I will probably call you Dr. Goodall many times because I'm so used to calling somebody doctor. So congratulations. I don't know if you have anything you'd like to.
Yes, I would. Ms. Koloponowicz and members of the Board of Education, just like to thank, and members of the community, I would just like to thank all of you for your support for me assuming this role this year. It's just an honor and a privilege to serve the district in this role. I've been here about 15 years, and I just love the district, and being given this opportunity to steer the district this year is just a dream come true for me. And I just also want to thank Dr. Alvik and Mike Gorski and Mary Smith and members of the central office staff who have been so helpful in helping me transition. And in addition, the high school administrative team and Debbie Van Loo, my former secretary, for helping me ease into the position seamlessly. It was a team effort, and I'm so thankful to all of them. I want to thank the administrative team for coming out in support, and also to the community. I got so many well wishes and offers of congratulations, so just wanted to thank them too.
Thank you, and we hope that we help you make this transition easier, and
Thank you.
congratulations again.
Can I ask a question?
Ms. Carino?
Yes.
Yes.
So is it for a year, the contract? Like, how do?
The contract is for a year or
So-
until we have a permanent superintendent put in place.
Okay, so we can still.
It's until June
search-
30th.
We can still search for.
Yes.
Okay.
May I be excused?
Yes, you may. Thank you. So we'll go to number 6 on the agenda, approval of minutes. And we have quite a few this evening. So the approval for the special Public Board of Education meeting of May 23rd, 2018.
So moved.
Mr. Ryback? Second by Mr. Chiarella. Any additions or corrections?
I would just like to mention that, again, the discussion on May 23rd, where it says the discussion on ethics issues, it started with Ms. Smith noted the concern regarding recent actions of 5 board members. This is not a complete and full record of the discussion that went on in that meeting. It's one-sided. It does not talk, there were discussions from other members of the board that took issue with the way this was presented, and so I would urge the people who were in that meeting to vote no on these minutes, because it is not a full record of the discussion, and again, I mentioned it's one-sided.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
And
Aye, yep.
Abstentions?
I'm sorry?
Abstain? Recuse? Patty?
She wasn't there. I don't think.
I abstained for the 6-7 meeting.
Oh, so you were you here for the May 23rd meeting?
Yes, I was.
Okay. Okay.
So I have
In case you didn't get it,
Mr.
I'm not
Russo,
sure.
Ms. Arminio
Yeah.
as no, and Mr. Braverman as a abstain.
I said no.
And Ms. Corino is no, she was in that discussion.
And
I vote
Mr.
no also.
and
And
Mr.
Mr. Chiarella.
Chiarella.
Minutes have to be complete.
So the-
Okay. The closed session meeting of May 23rd, 2018.
So moved.
Mr. Chiarella? Did you move? And Ms. DeMayo? Additions or corrections to the minutes?
And again, I make the same, especially in the discussion on ethics. That there are people present, and this is not a full record of the discussion, and the public should be apprised of, once the issues are resolved, the public should be apprised of the full deliberation within the closed session, and it is not as it appears here.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention?
4.
And recuse? Okay, stay.
Got it.
So was it 4-4?
Approve this special public board, do you need me to wait?
No, go ahead.
Okay. The special Board of Education meeting for May 31st, 2018. Anybody want to move that?
I
Miss-
so moved.
Oh, no, thank you, Patty. Moved by Patty, second by Ms. DeMayo. Any additions or corrections to the minutes? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ms. Arminio opposes. Abstention? Recuse. Okay. The closed session meeting of May 31st, 2018.
So moved.
Mr. Chiarella, Mr. Ryback, again, additions or corrections to the minutes? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ms. Arminio opposes. Abstention? Ms. Carino abstains. Recuse? No recusals. The special Public Board of Education meeting of June 7, 2018.
So moved.
Mr. Ryback? Mr. Chiarella? Additions or corrections to the minutes? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention?
I abstain.
Okay, Mrs. Lang is abstaining. Recuse. The minutes for the closed session meeting of June 7th, 2018.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Chiarella, Mr. Ryback, again, all in, the additions or corrections to the minutes? Ms. Arminio?
I do have a correction and additions. What it says here is that Ms. Arminio felt that she would, that we should post for an outside candidate if no decision was made that day. We were told that if no decision was made that evening, which it was not, as I believe, that we were going to post for, instead of an acting superintendent, we were going to post and advertise for a interim superintendent, and that was not done. So that should have been added to this closed session minutes.
Thank you. Anyone
And
else?
with that addition, I would agree, but is that going to be added, or are you just
Are we
going
gonna
to
add that
dismiss
to the
it?
minutes, or do we need to?
I was not the minute keeper for that meeting, so I'll have to go back and speak.
I have to go back to my notes. No, they added.
So then can we table it until we get proper addition?
I need a motion to table.
Well, there's a motion on to accept, so I don't think I can table it. Oh,
Okay.
yeah, I can table it, right?
I think we
Yeah.
can.
I make a motion to table the confidential minutes of the June 7th closed session meeting. Any second?
Is there a second?
Second.
Do we take a roll call on this, or do we can just do a?
Let's do a roll call, just to be clear.
Okay.
Yeah, I think you have to on the table.
Okay, this is a motion to table closed session meeting minutes for June 7, 2018. Mrs. Arminio?
Yes.
Mr. Braverman?
Yes.
Mr. Chiarella? Yes. Mrs. DeMayo?
Yes.
Mrs. Kolpanowicz?
Yes.
Mrs. Lang?
Abstain?
Mrs. Carino?
Yes.
Mr. Ryback?
Yes.
And Mr. Russo?
So I was conflicted for that meeting, so I recused.
Recused? All right, motion to table passes. That's a priority motion, so
Okay, so we'll go to
Next.
the
Next.
public board meeting, Board of Education meeting of June 13, 2018. A motion and a second.
So moved.
Mr. Chiarella, would somebody like to second that? Second by Mr. Mayo. Again, additions or corrections?
Hold on a second, I don't seem to have that meeting with me.
I don't have that meeting either.
Yeah, so it's not, it wasn't included in our package.
That was a special meeting.
No, that was a public Board of Education meeting. Do we not have that?
I believe it went out.
I-
Did it go out after Friday?
Monday morning.
It went
I'm
out
told
Monday
went out.
morning
I don't have.
on board
And
docs.
there was a board doc notification.
I don't have it.
Thanks.
Did they go out late?
Monday morning.
Monday morning.
Through board docs. And email? And email.
I didn't see it, so I'm gonna vote no.
Okay, well, apparently we all received it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Ms. Arminio? Abstention? Recuse? Are you abstaining or?
Abstaining.
Abstaining. Mr. Russo is abstaining.
So,
Okay, and the last one is the closed session meeting of June 13th, 2018.
So moved.
Mr. Chiarella,
Second.
Mr. Ryback. Additions or corrections?
On the June 13th was when can you just tell me what was discussed on the June 13th meeting, please?
Superintendent.
Was that a
I
personnel meeting?
don't, it's closed session meeting.
Right, was it a personnel issue?
I do not have that.
Mr.
I think it was Friday.
Yeah.
13th.
But I'm assuming those minutes went out at the same time? So they were received on Monday morning. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Ms. Arminio, abstention?
I'm gonna abstain. I never.
Okay, Mr.
I
Mayo,
wasn't there.
Mr. Russo, Ms. Carino is abstaining. And any recuse?
That was the meeting, which
Yeah.
we thought was superintendent's meeting, but it turned out not to be.
The
The
superintendent's?
evaluation, I think. We thought it was that. That's why Dawn and I had left.
You should vote.
I believe that was
You
the-
should vote no then.
For this, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so we got through the minutes. Let's go to the student board members, and they're on vacation because it's summer, so there's no report. So we'll go to committee reports. Are there any committee reports? Mr. Chiarella?
I have one. So we had a Buildings, Grounds, and Transportation meeting on the 10th of July. And we discussed several things, so it's going to take me about an hour to go through this.
Okay.
No, I'm kidding. So the first thing that we visited was the Eagle Scout candidate, Brent Rowan. So he is looking to get his become an Eagle Scout. So he proposed, as part of his project, to build a shed behind the high school for band for the drum majors, for a drum major stand. And he basically gave us an overview of what he's going to do, how it would help, and our committee approved that to move that forward. So I think that's a good thing, and it was a very good, well-spoken young gentleman. So I think that the school will benefit by having that project done, and he'll also benefit, obviously. We discussed the 522 bus lot. Edwards Engineering gave us an overview of the options from the standpoint of having different layouts for buses, having what the configuration of the topography would be, and things like that. And we did ask them to go back and come back with some quotes on the few different plans that we were looking at. And then, so what they're going to do is go back, they're going to talk to our transportation director, and then come back to us with some information. Nothing is set in stone. We're also looking at some other options that had come up during that, but I'm not going to bring that up at this point. But so it was a pretty good, it was a pretty lengthy process and a pretty good overview. But I think we got a good picture of what it's going to look like. We just have to figure out what our needs are totally and what's going to suit us and the transportation department best, and what will cost the least, I guess. So, and also encompass our needs. The other thing that we talked about was the administrator, I can't even speak tonight. The administration provided an overview of the project for the TCU project at MS. And so the units have been delivered. They're, as you can see when you go by the middle school, you can see the trailers out there and the configuration. We're getting a lot of questions about why we configured that way, why it looks the way it does. And the bottom line is that when we had trailers prior, we had them up on the field, but those were not connected to sewage or sewer, and these will be. So we'll have the ability to have the sewer there, so that we have bathrooms there that are functional, so that the kids aren't going between buildings to go to the bathroom and things like that. So we thought that out. We're going to also have, the board members had some security concerns about having the trailers out in the parking lot so close to the road, but we will have security measures in place on the doors and things like that, like we do with the schools, so that we're monitoring those, that they have locking swipe pads, things like that at the door, so that we just don't have people entering and doing whatever. So that was an important part of what we discussed. And then Barclay Brook, so there's a development going up across from Barclay Brook. We discussed the plans, so the developer was there with the engineer, and we looked at our plan, or their plans, and how it would impact us. We were going back and asked them to come back to us with some information on easements, and so that we can continue to use pieces of that land. So there's an easement that exists there, and we use that easement when we have drills, safety drills for the students. And we want to make sure that we're still able to use that easement if there are any, obviously not just for tests, but if there's an emergency. So that's in the works now, but we want to make sure that we can do that. What we're also looking to do is to make sure that we have representation from the board, either to the planning board or from the administration to the township administration, just to ensure that those concerns are heard and that they're properly adjudicated, because I think that's a major, the safety concern is a major concern for all of us. Number 5, the 5th thing that we had was a CCTV project for the transportation facility. So Triad Security Systems gave us an overview of the schematics for the camera system and what we have there. We asked for that. We have a lot of equipment there. Obviously, a lot of potential for damage. We have had some vandalism in the past with going back a ways with flat tires and things like that. We had the Gas Boy. Did I say that? Gas Boy? Gas Boy.
Oh, I think that, yeah.
Not Game Boy, but Gas Boy, which was a sizable investment on our part, but it basically locks down the gas so that people just can't pull up and pump gas. There's a swipe card, just a whole mechanism for security. But if somebody breaks it or somebody vandalizes that or somebody steals somebody's swipe card, we had concerns about that, and so we're putting cameras into in that area just to make sure that we're able to watch that. So where is he at? Pete has been working with them to ensure that those go in, that those get installed properly. So thank you, Pete. Appreciate it. And I think that was it, right? I think I hit everything.
Okay,
Thanks.
nice lengthy meeting, good.
That was a long one.
Mr. Braverman?
Who is responsible for gassing the buses?
I don't know that.
Madam?
Yes.
Gas buses.
The drivers gas the buses when they return them to the lot.
It's interesting because most private companies, or every private company that I'm aware of, has one person that gasses all the buses. When a driver needs it, that person fills it. I was also wondering if you had any new parameters for the bus pickups in terms of how close to the school do the kids have to be to walk, or are we picking them up? The last time I asked this question, I asked about why kids that are just close to Barclay Brook are not walking, and I was told it was very dangerous on Buccaloo. So I looked at a 10-year period of accidents on Buccaloo. There were 33 in 10 years, and almost all of them were at Grace Hill Road, where there's a stop sign and it's perpendicular. And so I think these are things that we should look at, because the money that we would save, probably $1 million a year.
I agree with you, if I may. I mean, I agree with you on the need to look at those things. And when we looked at this development, one of the things that we asked for is for sidewalks. So,
Well,
from
yeah,
the
but
developer.
further, it's the responsibility of the township to put crossing guards on those corners.
Right.
It's not our responsibility. So it's very easy for them to say, gee, it's dangerous, pick them up in a bus. Then it's our money, our budget.
I agree with you, but that's part of what we need to do as far as, making sure we don't have say when it comes to the developments overall, but we do have say, or we do have some input on this one because it's right across the street. So we're asking them to put sidewalks in, even past the point that they own, down to 522, to ensure that the kids are, that have a way to walk safely and cross. But from the standpoint of sidewalks, even for the kids that are in that neighborhood, we haven't had a lot of accidents on that road, but we haven't had children walking on that road either. We don't have sidewalks, and it's dangerous. So I wouldn't hazard to guess, I don't want to think about how many accidents we might have had if we had children walking on 522 in the morning with everyone rushing to work.
I wouldn't want them walking where there are no sidewalks.
Okay.
I have another question about the tennis courts. Last time it rained, I was by the tennis courts and there were puddles. Tennis courts, when the tennis courts are built, they're supposed to be built with a crown that goes diagonally across the 3 courts so that they dry very quickly and people can use them. It seems there are some puddles on these courts. They look very pretty, but it costs $600,000 to do them. I think somebody should look into it.
We'll look into it. I'm not aware of how they were built. That was before my time, but we'll look into
No,
it.
they were recently done.
Yeah,
Redone.
there are also a number of cracks on the court.
Cracks.
Cracks in them now?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I sent pictures of the cracks to Jerry
Okay, we'll look into it.
Tague, and I think also I sent you
Thank
pictures. Mr. Gorski, I think I sent you pictures as well,
Adam?
some time
Yes.
ago.
Yes. We received pictures from Mr. Russo about cracking
Can you use your
in the
mic?
lots. And there are some cracks that are intended to pop along expansion joints that are purposely meant for that design. Mr. Tague checked with the engineer, I believe, and was satisfied with the cracking, but superficially, they're being fixed just to look better. As far as the ponding, I haven't heard about that yet. We'll speak to Mr. Tague about the ponding. We'll investigate that.
Yeah, so my observation of the cracks was due to leaving the nets up all winter. And when the ground gets frozen and the wind blows and shakes the nets, it moves those poles and develops those cracks. It's typically what happens. So maybe removing the nets in the winter might be some help, offer some help.
Ms. Arminio?
Mr. Chiarella, do you mind if I speak to Mr. Braverman's issue about
Not at all.
the development? It just so happens that the Barclay Brook, Brookside, if you're facing those schools, on the left is where the new development is proposed. And I think, Mr. Chiarella, I don't want to, hopefully someone from Mr. Chiarella probably, to go to the planning board and speak for the board and speak to our needs with that development. So I don't know if, someone can give him permission, or is it just I would imagine that the president could give Mr. Chiarella, as chair of the board, as chair of the Buildings and Grounds, to speak to the concerns of the board for that development. Just as a matter of history, when the Devonshire on the right-hand side of the schools, if you're looking at the schools, Devonshire development, the original plan on the planning, because I attended that years ago, the original plan had a walkway between two properties, two homes, for the children to walk through into the Brookside area. And they were able to do that with, and the plan. And it was presented originally at the planning board, and just to eliminate the fact that the children would walk along the street. And they also didn't want to put sidewalks there. I believe there's sidewalks now. But the builder can be requested, because the builders ask for waivers on a regular basis for whatever their building necessities are. And if we could impose on them that ability to have a walkthrough from the development. The easement itself, we had some questions about the easement, because the easement is going to be on a private property. And I can't imagine that a private property owner is going to allow the children to go into that easement on a regular basis, especially because on the plan, on the site plan, it had a fence all the way from the beginning of the development into the bulb of the cul-de-sac. So I think the board does need representation, because we missed our opportunity on Devonshire, and as Mr. Braverman pointed out, it cost us millions of dollars, and we still have the children walking now. And it's a little bit more of difficulty having done that. But I think at the very least, the developers should cooperate with the school board and try to keep our children safe and provide that kind of access. So I would ask that somebody from the, Mr. Chiarella, of course, the logical choice, be present. And I think Mr. Tague said that our attorney might write a response or write something to the planning board in advance, or with our wishes in advance of the planning board meeting where that application is going to be heard. So I would hope that we would do that on behalf of the children, that we would, ask for that.
Okay, thanks. I think we're still on committee reports. Is there any other committee, Ms. DeMayo?
On July 17th, the Finance Committee met, and we talked about the additional 2018-2019 state aid award. Mr. Gorski presented the Finance Committee with a packet of information, most of which was previously sent to the board. The packet contained information on the previous increase of the general fund award, the amount and notice of release on Friday, July 13th, 2018, providing additional state aid. A historic schedule on state aid guidance from the Department of Education, a schedule created by Mr. Gorski containing options for the committee's consideration to use the award, and the information on status of S2, which is a bill to modify school funding. The three options recommended for the committee's consideration presented the tax impact on the average assessed home by, the first option was applying the full amount, $1,656,602 against the levy for tax relief. Option B was applying $1 million of the additional award to the tax levy for tax relief and appropriating $656,602 for ultimate reservation in the capital reserve amount. Option C was applying and spending all of the award and nothing going to tax relief. After much consideration of anticipating the district needs and considering the various tax consequences, the committee unanimously decided to choose option B, using $1 million towards tax relief, which would reduce the increase in the 18-19 budget to a 1-cent increase and a $31.73 tax increase on the average assessed home, while appropriating $656,602 of ultimate reservation in the capital reserve account. The capital reserve account currently has a balance of $89,700, and with option B, it would grow to $746,302. Mr. Gorski explained that any board action pertaining to this requires a 2/3 majority affirmation of the board.
Okay, so I know that that's on the board agenda number 9. So let me see if there's any other committee reports, and then we'll get back to that one. Okay.
I have a question on that, if we can just speak to that for a minute. In the paper, it said that, about the $2 million, it talked about Middlesex County, the biggest winner is Monroe with 60% increase to $2 million. I just like to, I think that's sort of playing with numbers, because the increase is a very minor increase. I mean, it looks big because we've barely gotten any state aid over these few years. We probably, I think, if I'm reading these papers right, we should have gotten anywhere from $2.624 million to $5 million at the height, 2008 to 2009. So getting $2 million, while it sounds like we're getting 60% increase, is really a drop in the bucket, a good drop in the bucket, I suppose, and certainly grateful for it. But I think we have to keep in mind that it is really not our fair share yet. And, you know, I give kudos to the Finance Committee for making that recommendation. But I want to be clear before, I mean, we should thank the public for all of the hard work they have done to get this money, and certainly the administration, but I think the public outcry is really what made a difference. Mr. Chiarella's organization, the ad hoc committee. So I want to thank him for all his hard work and the vocalism. But I think we need to keep in mind, instead of saying we got a 60% increase, I think we should put it in perspective. It's only based on, what, 800,000 that we had gotten in the past. Mr. Gorski, perhaps you can.
Well, I think
60%
it puts us
of-
back to exactly where we were in 2008 and 2009. So we're now back to that. We
Right.
have lost money along the last 10 years,
Exactly,
and now
so-
we're back. But they didn't take into account that we've gotten over $2,000 more students
Right.
in that 10 years.
So I don't want the public to be deceived by the fact that we're saying we got such a high increase. We got an increase based on a ridiculously low amount that we have been receiving. So, but that's not really, and we still need to keep fighting. I don't want to get complacent over this, because $2 million on a $130 million budget is barely a relief for the taxpayers.
Or do we have any other committees that need to report?
I
Ms.
do.
Arminio?
Okay, there's a policy for a second reading tonight, the policy 8561, procurement procedures for school nutrition programs. That was brought up several meetings ago, so it is on for a second and final vote. We talked about, this is for the first time, the policy and regulation 5350, which was suicide prevention policy. We got background information. It is a mandatory policy and regulation, I believe. I don't see an M on here. It may not be mandatory, but it was addressed. I asked for, when we received the policy originally, there were handwritten notes on it for discussion, and I was inquiring as to where those notes came from. So just let you know that the policy changes were due, it is a mandated alert from our Strauss Esme, which is our legal, we have a legal software that tells us about changes in policies and recommendations. The handwritten changes on the copy that I received were recommended by Dr. Alvick and the whole child committee. So the whole child committee includes staff members, and the policy from the ESME was used with the child study team and the suicide intervention team. So I would recommend that everybody take a look at that policy. Let's hope we never have to use it. And, but the recommendations came from staff members. If anyone's interested in who those staff members are, I believe we can probably get that through the Open Public Records, or we can post it. So that policy is 5350 for first reading. The next policy was the homework policy. It was provided to the committee by Dr. Alvick once again, and it has been something that was vetted from the curriculum committee since November of 2017. It is on for the first reading. My question is, there's after reviewing it again, I'm sorry I didn't do this sooner, but after reviewing it again, on number 9 of that policy, it says homework or long-term projects are discouraged during defined breaks, which are Thanksgiving, winter, and spring breaks. I'm going to ask this to, even if it passes, I'm going to ask this to go back to the committee. I think the word discouraged is a negative thing. I think perhaps we can ask for optional or at the discretion of the teacher. That would be my recommendation. But we can talk about it at the committee, because the interim between this vote and the next vote, it has to go for a second vote. The other thing is this policy was rewritten in its entirety and handed to the committee. So I'm wondering if it is not in the proper format and it's not paged, and I'm wondering if that makes a difference before the vote. I don't know if our attorney can answer that question, but I realized when I saw it in the package that it really doesn't have the same format as all the other policies. So I don't know if it's
It
considered
doesn't make a
complete.
difference, and we'll make sure that it gets into that format.
Okay.
But it would be the same policy.
All right, so that's my personal suggestion in terms of school breaks. The word discouraged, I think, sort of puts handcuffs on our teachers, and I think our teachers should be ultimately the ones responsible for how they assign our children. So maybe if we can say optional and/or at the discretion of the teacher instead of discouraged. I'd like that homework to be a positive experience and the teachers to have fully the support, for what they feel is necessary for child instruction or educational instruction.
And it comes back to you as the chair of the policy committee,
right.
so we'll make sure that
So that
it's
is,
there.
for the public, that is policy 2330. And that's it. Thank you.
Okay, any other committees? Okay, then we will go to the board discussion on the state aid. Mr. Gorski?
Yes, ma'am. As Mrs. DeMayo very well introduced with the committee report, with the 18-19 budget, Monroe Township Board of Education received an additional state aid award in the general fund of $344,629. This was under Senate President Sweeney's plan to fully fund the formula, but with the growth limits and adjustment aids still in place, and it was phased in over a 4-year period of time. So when you add that $344,629 of initial aid that the board already acted upon, with the award that came out on last Friday of an additional $1,656,602, you have an increase in the 18-19 general fund state aid award of $2,001,231 as compared to the previous year. One of the important things that was noted in the committee was that this award, if acted upon by the board, will be part of the base award going forward. So there will be continued increases based upon that new base, including that amount, just like last year's increase of approximately $458,000 was in the base adjustment for the 18-19 budget. The state gave guidelines on the permissible use of the money, and I sent that to the board and the committee, and we studied that at length. And as Mrs. DeMayo said, the resolution tonight requires a 2/3 majority vote of the board. The Finance Committee unanimously decided to recommend to the board tonight an option which appropriated $1 million of the additional $1.6 million award towards tax relief by reducing the general fund levy, and by appropriating $656,602 for ultimate use in the capital reserve account. Because when questions were asked, what needs are there in the district right now, we went through a list of them, but most noteworthy was the capital reserve account has a very low balance for a district this size of only $89,700. The capital reserve account has fortified many of the installment projects each year that have been contained in the general fund budget without having to bond additional monies to meet the maintenance needs for this district. Projects including roof replacements, boiler, HVAC systems, the Applegarth project, all were done in capital reserve. So it is, in my opinion, a responsible measure to use some of this additional award to replenish the capital reserve account, and the Finance Committee agreed unanimously. We also discussed the continuation of this endeavor to get fair funding, and we looked at the current bill that passed the Assembly and the Senate, which is S2, and is on the governor's desk awaiting signature. That differs from the budget law that we spoke to previously, which went to full funding with the growth limits and adjustment aids still in place, because S2 removes the growth limits and the adjustment aid over a phased-in period of time, which would give us the full award in accordance with the School Funding Reform Act of 2008. As I wrote in the communication to the board, this is a very important step, and it's one that we targeted a while back, because our district, with all of the growth that we've experienced here, has been frozen in place and not received state aid credit for all of the additional students. As Mrs. Kolopanovich said, over 2,000 in a 9-year period, I believe. So it would behoove the board to follow S2, in my opinion. I don't want to make a political statement on it either way, but to initially remove the growth limits and adjustment aid and go to full funding is very important. And then finally, it's my opinion that a new funding formula is needed for Monroe, really to find satisfaction in this funding fight. School Funding Reform Act 2008 is very long in the tooth by now, and is not meeting the needs of many districts, including Monroe. So even with full funding, as Mrs. Arminio said, We're never going to be fully satisfied here and really feel it. Our taxpayers won't feel it until a new funding formula is in place. And I've spoken to some local legislators who supported that initiative.
Okay, so I believe, Mr. Russo, you have a resolution to read?
I have a piece of paper here, yes, I do.
Can I make one more comment?
Well, we're
Based
going to
on-
make a
oh,
and then we
all
can
right.
have comments or questions.
First, I would like to correct Ms. Arminio. When we referred to a small amount of money that we're not happy about, we used the words crumbs,
Okay.
not
I
not
stand-
drop in the bucket.
I
yeah.
stand corrected.
Okay.
Crumbs.
Crumbs, okay. So I move that the members of the Monroe Township Board of Education, 1, accept the revised categorical transportation state aid in the amount of $2,753,019, an increase of $1,656,602 from the previously reported state aid amount. And 2, to reduce the general fund local tax levy for the 2018-2019 school year by $1 million, the crumbs, which will result in a general fund local tax levy for the 2018-2019 school year in the total amount of $100,353,868. And 3, approve the appropriation of the remaining $656,602 into capital outlay line item 12-000-400-450, construction services, for the conversion to capital reserve when allowable. The business administrator / board secretary is hereby authorized and directed to take all necessary steps to implement this action by the Board of Education, and dated July 18th.
Okay, is there a
2018.
Second.
second by Mr. Chiarella? Comments or questions?
Yeah, I
Arminio?
just because of this resolution, and it has to do with our state aid, when we are a member now of the Fair Funding Action Committee,
Yes.
I'm wondering if in conjunction with this, we can put S2 on our website and ask our public to call and write letters to our 3 representatives.
We can do that.
Okay. I mean, that was the whole point of joining the Fair Funding Action Committee.
Right.
And
Mr.
the
Chiarella?
governor, the governor
And
is
the
who
governor.
has to sign it.
Okay.
Madam?
Yes.
As Mrs. Arminio said, the most impactful correspondence right now would go to the governor, because that's where S2 lies right now, on his desk. And although he said he wasn't opposed to it in any way, it hasn't been signed yet. So that encouragement could go a long way.
Okay.
Any other comments or questions?
If I may, I just want to, you know, for the people that aren't, for the board members who aren't on policy, or on finance, it's just important, I think it's a good thing that we're giving the $1 million back for tax relief, but it is very important for us to recharge our account, because we've done a lot of projects in the past, as Mr. Gorski stated, out of that account. And, if we have an emergency or something happens where we need to act upon it, we have the ability to make changes and do things without having to, go out for a bond or something like that. So I'm just asking everyone to vote for that. And I also just want to say that I'm grateful for the additional money. I think that we're in baby step mode, but baby step mode is better than the mode we were in 2008, where we were in cut and take away mode. So I want us to keep moving forward. I think it's important to keep fighting, because we're not where we need to be, but we're getting somewhere, it seems, and we need to keep that momentum going. So that's all I had to say for that.
Anyone else? Okay, then we'll have a roll call.
Mrs. Arminio?
Yes.
Mr. Braverman?
Yes.
Mr. Chiarella?
Yes.
Mrs. DeMayo?
Yes.
Mrs. Lang?
yes,
Mrs. Carino?
Yes.
Mr. Ryback?
Yes.
Mr. Russo?
Yes.
Mrs. Koloponowicz?
Yes.
Madam Board President, I'm pleased to announce that the motion passed unanimously.
It's great news for both the public and the school district. Okay, we're going to public forum. Anyone from the public wishing to speak to the agenda, please come to the microphone, state your name and address for the record. We will adhere to our 4-minute time limit, and this is for agenda items only.
Prakash Parab, 33 Dana Drive. Mr. Goodall, congratulations. We count on you to bring unity in BOE and cooperation between BOE and administration to work for the children, and we count on you. You have done an excellent job for the high school, so we count on you. I'll come back to it. The fair funding, you know, it is a $14 billion budget, and we are getting $5.6 million. It is a drop in the bucket or crumbs. And I agree with all the comments from all of you. The funding formula has to be changed. Because now, because of the taxes, all this is gone now. We cannot deduct more than 10,000. So it is coming back out of our pocket. We are paying double taxes. Like we already pay taxes on our salary. Then there are no cuts. So again, we pay taxes to the school tax, which we cannot deduct. So it is not good. So we have to, and in your action committee, make sure that the public is there, so we are not just speaking for 4 minutes. Now coming back, Mr. President, you have given, you have talked to Sentinel and you have talked to Monroe now. But I don't want to go on commenting on that. Be careful what you say and what you don't, because there are videotapes there already, what has been going on in the special meetings, okay? So we don't want to go back, and we are not forgotten the exit of Dr. Kozak. You said public will forget soon. We are not. We are going to count everyone accountable for that. Okay? Again, in the minutes of the meeting in the public forum, we asked for the timelines for the referendum. You said that we are waiting for the administration of the BOE to give where we stand and where advisors on that, recommendations or suggestions on that, so the BOE will act on it. So when it is going to happen? That is the question. And now Mr. Goodall is our acting superintendent. So we have to have a process now started when we are going to look for the new superintendent and what is the expectation from the BOE. So we, public, like to know about that. That is the second question.
Okay, so neither one of those questions are on the agenda.
No, they are in the minutes of the meeting, and minutes of the meeting are approved, so they are.
That's not an agenda item, but I will answer them.
Please, thank you.
Okay, so the first question was for
The referendum.
the referendum. We have a steering committee a meeting tomorrow. It is my personal hope that by September, we have a resolution on the board agenda for a referendum for this is just my personal opinion. We will talk about it more tomorrow. That we will have, something in place in September for a referendum. If we do something in September, I don't think we'll be able to have a referendum on the ballot because you need 6 months until next March. The second question was for a superintendent. Today, we just appointed an acting superintendent, and I think there's a few things that we have to do before we start the search for a new superintendent. We haven't even discussed that yet. I do know that I think the priority of the board is the referendum, and then most superintendents are put in place on July 1st for the September opening of school. So at this point, it's not the optimal time to look for a superintendent. So the optimal time would probably be in the spring when people are looking for new positions and new jobs. So Mr. Goodall is in place until next year, June 30th. We will be having discussions on how we were going to move forward. But I think right now, to do so many things that we've been trying to do so many things for the last 6 months, that it would be a good idea to just work on the referendum and get that done by September, and then we could move to looking at the superintendent search.
Thank you.
Anyone else from the public?
Good evening, Chrissy Skirby, 21 Preakness Drive. Mr. Goodall, I want to welcome you as acting superintendent. I think
Thank
our
you.
district is very lucky to have you at the helm, and I look forward to this upcoming school year. Just a couple of questions. With the new development that's going up, I guess, right next to Barclay Brook, is it? Is there still the property between Barclay Brook and Brookside that shares the driveway of Barclay Brook?
Yes, there is.
There's someone that's still a
There's somebody,
resident?
that driveway leads to a house in the back.
Oh, okay. So back to what Mr. Braverman was saying about walkers. I know they currently walk to school by Mill Lake. Devonshire does walk to Barclay Brook, Brookside. The Barclay Brook students walk through Brookside to get to Barclay Brook in the morning. I think it is an excellent point that Mr. Braverman brought up to look at other developments that can walk. Curious if there's any looking over on the Oak Tree side, because there are several developments that connect to Oak Tree with sidewalks, as well as the one next to Applegarth that has sidewalks. Is there any consideration for those developments to walk?
I don't know, but I think it's probably a good idea that we task the committee with looking at what bus routes can be accommodated and what bus routes may be eliminated. I know we've done that in the past. We've done an audit on the bus routes, and it's probably time that we did another audit and see where we can save money from not having to bus from neighborhoods that are able to walk to school.
Sure. Do you have a number of buses that are used outside of the district? Do we know how many we currently use?
Mr. Gorski, do you have an idea?
No, I don't have
What
the number
percentage?
of buses. We don't discuss the number of buses, it's more routes, and we're working on that for next year. As far as a percentage goes, holistically, I would say that approximately 65 to 70% is in-house now, with the remainder being contracted. There are still a great number of special ed routes that are contracted because the efficiency of buying a van for one or two particular students of need is not there, so we still have a lot of contracted routes out. The athletic trips and the field trips are still contracted, but we are making every effort to bring them back in. But our biggest hindrance to that is the availability to park them and to service them, which we're studying now at committee to determine
It's a
an
space
expansion.
issue,
Yes,
right.
ma'am.
Yeah, because if we could reduce routes, then we can reduce the amount of out-of-district buses. And I only bring it up because of the horrific accidents that have happened with school buses. And it seems like most of those were outside the district-owned buses. They weren't district-owned buses. And the concern that I've always had is if my child's not riding a Monroe Township bus, that there's a different standard on those buses. And I think the district really needs to, going forward, really consider that, because it's our children's lives in those bus drivers' hands, and they don't have to meet the same criteria that our bus drivers do. And I know our bus drivers do a fantastic job. They make sure that the kids have their seatbelts on, there's cameras on the buses. So I think that's something that this district should really look to. If we can reduce routes, then that's a reduction in the amount of buses we need to contract out, and it would make a safer district for our children. Thank you.
Thank you.
Lou Masters, 9 McKellar Court. I have several items, but they're not too long. Congratulations, I'll say it again. I think you'll do a great job. Also, this is Mr. V's last meeting as an employee. I just wanted to recognize that. So we'll see you as a member of the public, hopefully. And also, I just wanted to say I was sad. I saw that Mr. Howard resigned. He was a great teacher, or he is a great teacher, I should say. My kids all loved him. We love him. He's going to be sorely missed. I have a question for Mr. Chiarella. The trailers that are near the roads, are we looking into crash barriers so if somebody drives off the road, they don't drive into the trailer?
We have not looked at any crash barriers. The curbing, there's curbing there and things like that, but we have not looked to put anything permanent in.
I'm just saying with some of the accidents we've had in town where people have driven up curbs into buildings, that might be something to look into. The other thing, usually I agree with you, Mr. Minio, but you said something before that kind of irked me about your minutes. You talked about, I guess, the closed session meeting, and that some of the action items were misrepresented, which is fine. But then you also started talking about the resolution of the action items. I just want to make sure it's clear. You cannot include those in minutes. It's only what is discussed at the meeting.
Right.
Okay, I just want to make sure, because you started discussing, I want to make sure that doesn't appear retroactively in minutes. And the other thing that you brought up is, why don't we randomize voting anymore? We used to do that when I was on the board on items.
We did that many, many years ago. We could implement that again if you,
I'm just saying, it seemed like there was a request to change the voting order tonight by a board member. That might be something to look into.
yeah, well, we'll look into that.
Okay, and I just have two questions on personnel. One of them is on, I guess, Randy Flom. The first one, the effective date is 2017. Is that just a update? There's only one closed session. There's only one public, right? I could discuss this?
You could talk about the position, not the person.
Sorry. The first step, I'm just curious, was the step retroactive or just the documentation?
Can you give me a letter?
Oh, it's AY.
AY.
Yeah, sorry. So did we have to retroactively do the step over the whole year, or is it just the documentation update?
I guess you're going to have to give me like more information without using a person.
Yeah, it's tough. So the first Brookside person there, the first item, the effective date is being, I guess, changed.
You know what?
Yeah, skip it.
We can get, you can ask after the meeting and we'll get that information
That's
to
fine.
you.
That's fine. I'm just curious.
That
And
way
then
you-
on the next page, it just says doctorate differential.
That person has apparently received their doctorate, so now they get the differential for receiving their doctorate.
We don't have to put the name on there?
Oh, where?
The last one.
Yeah, it's the only one without
It was just the number.
It was, oh. I think that's a new employee.
Okay.
Okay, no, I'm only kidding. We changed that number,
Okay.
yeah.
That's fine. And then the last thing, I know you can't discuss it, is the damage to property under V. I know you can't go into details, but $5,300, what was that? That's a lot of damage, I would say.
What number is that?
V, the violence,
V?
vandalism.
That particular incident was an issue at the high school, and there was damage done to a boy's bathroom, particularly the sink.
Okay, yeah, that's about right. All right, thank you, that's it. Have a nice day.
Thank you very much.
Good evening. Andy Pelori, 16 St. James Street. First of all, I want to congratulate Dr. Goodall for taking the position.
It is Mr. for now.
Mr., not
Thank
doctor?
you.
So I misheard.
I give him doctorates all the time, so it's okay.
Mr. Goodall. It's better than calling you Mr. President, so. I just wanted to clarify a couple of items. The $2 million and the reference to the breadcrumbs, it's really disheartening for a member of an elected official sitting here and making statements like that. There's a lot of effort, a lot of people put in to get what we got. And I think the least some of the board members can do is appreciate the efforts that are put in by the members of the Fair Funding Committee. And we have not given up at this point. We understand it's only a drop in the bucket. We are continuing to work. We're trying to set a meeting up with the Senate President. We're sending letters and correspondence to the governor's office to change the funding formula as well. So please be patient with us before you start referring to this as a drop in the bucket. Drop in the bucket is better than no drop in the bucket. And if you guys are not interested in it, we can always give that as a tax relief to the rest of the community here. And also, one of the things that really appals me is that there are certain members of the board here who come and sit in the planning board meetings and actually tape the planning board meetings. And for them to sit here and say we don't know what the policy is, and I'm not speaking as a member of the planning board, to say that they don't know what the policy is and somebody got to go in and sit there and represent, there's a board member always represented at the planning board. And it is the policy of the planning board to request sidewalks on all properties that are being built here, for most part. The only exception is if there's no connecting sidewalks, then they make a fair contribution to the fund to build sidewalks at those locations. So the whole idea is that if there's no connecting sidewalk, when the sidewalks are built from point A to point B and then from C to D, B to C can be connected with the funds that are available in the general funds. And also, the state has given money to Monroe Township back, I believe, in 2005 or 2006 to conduct a comprehensive bicycle pedestrian compatibility across the township. And that report is available. I have seen it. And I think that'll be a good point for people to see from a safe routes to school perspective on what sidewalks are going to be approved and what is there in the general funding to provide the sidewalks, especially in the Barkley Brook area. So thank you very much and good luck working with this board. Thank you.
Anyone else from the public have a comment or question on the agenda?
Krishna Dekale, 11 Jake Place. I have a question on the referendum. You just brought that up when you responded to
The referendum?
Yeah.
That is not on the agenda.
Yes, but you responded back to Prakash on this.
I know, but that is not on the agenda right now, so we will hold that till the next public forum.
Right. All I want to say is in September, we don't want to come in and say that, this is a decision that the board has made. We need, the public needs a prior notification so that we can look at the referendum or what is being proposed, discuss the pros and cons, not a single meeting that we go in and say, either you're for it, you're against it. It's a request.
We don't have a referendum now to even
No, I know.
discuss, so
I know.
I think we'll hold that off until we have something that the board will bring to the public.
Sure. Then the question then is on number 1, enrollment. I'd like to see the capacity of the schools next to the enrollment numbers, right? For example, I want to know what the Apple Guard's capacity is, what the enrollment numbers are. That gives us an idea of how many students are there and what kind of things do we need, and at least plan for it, right?
Okay, we'll look into it.
Yes. And then the question about the funding, right? With the $1 million being returned for the tax relief, just wanted to confirm, are there any classes being canceled out? Are there any
Classes?
classes or any special activities being?
We are not cutting any programs or any classes due to the taxes.
And for just because we're bringing in the trailers, are there any clubs or anything being cut out?
With the trailers,
Yeah.
I think everything that was in the budget is still in the budget. We have not lost anything. We have not lost any programs or anything in the district. What it was in the budget and approved back in April is still in the budget.
Sure, thank you. Thank you, Dr. Godal. Congratulations, and we will look forward to working with you. Now, I have a question on the high school. Is the principal's position in high school being backfilled?
Is that on the agenda?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
There's a recommendation on the agenda for tonight in the superintendent's report.
Okay, all right. Sure, thank you.
Anyone else from the public? Okay, seeing no one, we will close the public forum and go to our superintendent's report with Mr. Goodall.
Thank you, Mrs. Kalapanowicz. In my first few weeks in the role of acting superintendent, I had the privilege, and one of the best things you could do as a superintendent is to interview and welcome potential new staff members, teachers, counselors, child study team members, and we've gone through a rigorous process, starting at the building level and with the supervisors and the building principals to recommend candidates to staff our schools with the finest teachers available. And on my under my action report, personal action report. A number of those candidates are being recommended tonight for being a part of our family moving forward. So it's a great privilege as a superintendent to be involved in that. In addition, I had the opportunity of interviewing 2 potential appointments tonight as the acting principal of Monroe Township High School. That process was completed, and we have a recommendation tonight, as well as the Brookside and Applegarth split new additional vice principal. So that concludes my opening of my report. So, Madam Board President and members of the Board of Education, it is recommended that personnel action items A through BH under the superintendent's report be approved by consent roll call.
So moved.
Mr. Chiarella and Ms. DeMayo?
I think it's BI.
I have BH.
BH.
There was a correction to be, there was a removal.
Yeah. So now, do you have a question? Yes.
A-N?
A-N?
Yeah. Should that be through May of 2019?
There's an error.
May 30th, 2019.
Right.
Thank you for that pickup. Any other comments or questions for Mr. Goodall?
Yes.
Ms. Arminio?
Well, my old agenda, Y, I don't know if it's still there. It's it's Z on the new agenda. It's recommended that the board approve the following teachers. I don't have an issue with the teachers, but at a contract increase of 8.5% for the school year. Can that be explained? 8.5% salary, or the contract with Avid? What is that?
Often when a teacher takes on additional responsibilities, for example, there are many times the high school, you're asked to approve a 17% increase. At the middle school, with the Avid program, they get an 8.5 because it's half of the time that the high school teacher teaches the Avid elective course.
8.5 on what? On their current salary?
On their current salary for 2018-19.
And we're paying that? It's not, okay, so it's the contract for Avid teachers, essentially. They get an increase of that on top. Now, is that a pensionable increase?
No.
Yeah.
It's important to distinguish that 8.5% increase is an additional contractual term. It's a term extension of more time that they'll be serving with compensation associated with it. It's not an 8% increase in compensation.
Okay, just try that again.
It's like when the high school staff teaches an extra class.
Right.
They get an extra 17%, so they make 117% of their contract. They're getting an extra 8.5% because they're teaching an extra portion or an extra term or an extra, however they do it at the middle school.
Okay,
So instead of 17%, they're getting half of that.
I got that. All right. The other question is, according to, again, the first agenda that I read, we're getting an increase of additional sections, 20, if I read it correctly, 20 additional sections, and that's due to enrollment primarily or entirely? On here, when I read the hires, they were additional sections, and I think,
Do you have a number for that?
well, it was throughout, let's see, on my old one, it was I think it was teachers. You were increasing sections where, no, I don't, okay. Maybe it's not on this, it's BE, or, so it would probably be,
BE on my agenda is club advisors for the high school.
Nope, it would be Oak Tree, it would be BF. It I was just counting. I mean, really, it's just a generic question. It looks like, and it doesn't have to be anything specific, it looks like we have additional, okay, here it is, on page 21 of 35, BF. There are a lot of additional sections and it says increased enrollment. I just sort of want the public to know that we have 20 additional sections. Is that correct?
Madam? I'm sorry. Yes, the new sections were included in the budget.
Right, I know that,
Yeah.
but
That is due to enrollment growth.
just enrollment growth. And then new positions for non-certified were 7. You have 7 new positions for non-certified personnel. I think that might be the next section.
And I think that's also from the budget, new positions that have been in the budget that now we are hiring for.
Just confirming that.
Right.
Okay. I think that's all in this. Oh. Okay. Not the other.
Any other comments or questions? Mr. Russo?
I mean, I'm going to vote yes, but I know you got my, Mr. Goodall, I know you got my email earlier about those few.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's why I'm always sort of apprehensive now to vote on these things, because we don't know how many slip through the crack, and it seems like nobody knows. And there are too many, it looks like there are too many people in the pipeline who are at the high level, directors and so on, well-paid, $100,000 a year. And I can't see how mistakes like that are made. So I think we really need to stop that from happening. If, people who were given full-time jobs, who didn't apply for them, and there wasn't a vacancy, it shouldn't happen. So, anyway, I appreciate that you're looking into it. And like I said, I know it's your first day on the job, on this job. So
I can only speak to the process that I
Yes.
follow at the high school, and
And I know it's a lot of, it's not something I would expect you to be able to just pick out, that the people who are involved in the process should be able to identify that, or, stop it from happening. So, yeah, good luck on the new position, and like I said, I am going to support it and vote yes on this.
thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, then we'll have a roll call on the personnel items.
Ms. A through BH. Mrs. Arminio.
Yes.
Mr. Braverman.
Yes.
Mr. Chiarella.
Yes.
Mrs. DeMayo.
Yes.
Mrs. Lang.
Yes.
Mrs. Carino.
Yes.
Mr. Ryback.
Yes.
Mr. Russo.
Yes.
Mrs. Koloponowicz.
Yes.
Madam Board President, personnel items A through BH has passed.
Okay, so we go to the board action items.
Mr. Kalafanowicz, if you don't mind, I'd like to recognize two
Sure.
appointees. So Mr. Scott Madriperla, where is Scott? Congratulations, well-deserved, Mr. Madriperla. Over 30 years of service to Monroe Township High School, teacher, coordinator, and now vice principal for 13 years with me, and now as acting principal for the year. So congratulations.
And I just would like to say,
Wait, he has
Mr. Metropel gave me his seat at one of the assemblies, so I want to appreciate your chivalry, sir. Thank you.
It's going to pick up
And-
tonight.
And also, Mrs. Magdalena Fedora. Congratulations, appointed assistant principal at Brookside and Applegarth. And we had a great conversation at your final interview. It was very nice to meet you. I've never met you before, but I know you're going to be a great addition to the team, so congratulations.
Welcome. Okay, so now we'll go to board action items.
Madam Board President and members of the Monroe Township Board of Education, it is recommended that board action items A through W be approved by consent roll call.
So moved.
Mr. Ryback,
Second.
second by Ms. DeMayo. Comments or questions for Mr. Goodall? Mr. Chiarella?
It's not a comment, or it's a comment, but it's an overall just a structure of how we do these. Is there any way that we could break out these policies? So for instance, if you go to S, it has a homework policy, but it's lumped in under S with student suicide prevention. So if a board member wanted to vote against the homework policy, they're going to also be voting against the suicide policy, which is ridiculous.
You can say that you're voting for one and not the other.
Under S, okay.
Yes, you can. We've done that in the past when there's more than one, that you would vote for one but not vote for something, so you can distinguish that when you make your vote. Anyone else? Okay, then we'll have a roll call.
Board action items A through W. Mrs. Arminio.
Yes.
Mr. Braverman.
No on the homework policy, yes on the rest.
Thank you. Mr. Chiarella.
No on the homework policy 2330, and yes on the rest.
Mrs. DeMayo.
Yes.
Mrs. Lang.
Yes.
Mrs. Carino.
Yes.
Mr. Ryback.
Yes.
Mr. Russo.
Due to confliction, abstain.
Abstain on all.
Because previously, yes.
Okay, thank you. Mrs. Koloponowicz.
Yes.
Madam Board President, board action items A through W has passed.
Okay, and that concludes your report, Mr. Goodall?
That concludes my report.
Okay, then we'll go to the Business Administrator's report with Mr. Gorski.
Madam Board President and members of the Monroe Township Board of Education, it is recommended that board action items A through U be approved by consent roll call.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Chiarella, Mr. Ryback, comments or questions for Mr. Gorski? Ms. Arminio?
Does this include, Mr. Gorski, the professional appointments of McCabe Environmental?
There is a professional appointment for McCabe Environmental.
Okay. I just have a question on that. The lead inspector, risk assessor, I mean, it's broken down. I see that the rate sheet for Monroe Township from this service is broken down. I thought we already did our lead assessments, and do we have to have this as an ongoing assessment, or aren't we satisfied that we were lead-free or we dealt with our lead
I believe that we still need an environmental engineer approved by the board to be an on-call service. You're right, we just remediated lead paint at the middle school columns and elsewhere in the district. But this approval is forward-looking. If we should need them during the course of the year, you have an approval. You don't have to wait for the board meeting.
Yeah, but I thought we did it when there was lead in the water with Flint, Michigan, and we were up in front of that, and we had a lead inspection. I mean, why would we, I mean, we're not getting older buildings, and we're certainly not, it's only $100, and it may be really less than a crumb, but we shouldn't be paying for things, in my opinion, that we don't need.
It's a very good question, and the approval here is as a as-needed basis, number one. But number two, there is still lead paint here in the district, and there is still asbestos here in the district. The purpose of the Adhere plan and the lead paint management program is to effectively manage and contain those contaminants, so to avoid construction or exposure in any way. So these engineers are approved by the board to be on an as-needed basis, should the need arise where something may disturb those areas.
Okay, so, but we have identified where all of the potential lead-based risks are.
I believe that the terminology Mr. Take uses all known lead and asbestos.
Okay. And then Paul's commodity hauling, could you just briefly explain what that is?
Yes. The district participates in a federal commodity program where we apply through a lengthy process and are eligible to receive federal commodities, including cheese and different agricultural products, free of charge. And you need a certified approved hauler, a trucking company, to bring these items for consumption in the school district.
So the fuel charges are when they're bringing these commodities to us?
Yes, ma'am.
And is, okay. So this is just a service to bring commodities?
It's a service that's required by the Department of Education. You have to have a certified hauler because you're dealing with consumable items for kids. And last I saw the figure, the district benefited to the tune of about $30,000 a year by receiving these commodities from the government, just through the efforts of applying.
Okay, and our hauler isn't charging us $29,000, right?
That's correct.
Okay. I mean, I want to make it worth our while to get them. All right, thank you.
It is, and we've eliminated all pink slime from
Oh,
federal programs.
yes, thank you.
And Mr. Braverman?
I was wondering why I was being punished by not being under G.
Under G? Oh. That's the trip to,
Atlantic City.
yeah, school boards.
Certainly, you're not being punished, Mr. Braverman. We welcome your attendance, but we have had no,
I'm sorry?
we've had no communication from you expressing interest. That's why you're not included on the list. If you would like to contact Nancy Tagliaferro
I'd
tomorrow,
like
we
to,
can put it on at the next meeting. It's not a problem.
Yeah, I think I'd like to go.
Good.
Okay. Any other questions? Mr. Russo?
Yeah, just, when we purchase or go into contract with any companies, LLCs, is there any way we can make a note that there are no conflicts with people who work in the school? Nobody in the school owns the company or has a partnership in the company? Because very often we're voting on these LLCs and we don't know who owns them.
Right, and that might be very difficult to find out who, if an employee works from the district, works with them. How,
But don't you think it's important?
We can ask an LLC perhaps, the LLC.
We can, yeah. I mean, I'm familiar with procurement processes. I know at the United Nations, we do that all the time, and we thoroughly check to make sure that there are no conflicts, no ownerships or partnerships or conflicts of interest.
Madam?
Yes.
We're in full compliance with all the federal and state regulations as far as required disclosure from vendors. Usually pertains to the bid threshold. With a QPA, it's $40,000.
Is there a paper trail? Is there a way I could, you're saying you're in compliance, but can I,
Oh, yes.
do you have a document that
Yes.
will demonstrate that
Certainly.
this
If you-
company has no conflict with anyone here?
Absolutely. If you are interested in a bid award, you could come in and inspect the bid award, and you would see all of the disclosure requirements, affirmative action, conflicts of interest, you name
Okay,
it,
so
that are
can
on
we make a
file.
note on here? Can we make a note on here that, for example, when you put the LLC down, that there are no conflicts? Some type of
I
statement?
just want to be clear, sir. I'm referring to anything at the bid threshold or higher. That's where you're required to
Yeah.
solicit these
And what
documents.
about below that?
Below that?
$50,000.
It's at the discretion of the administrator making the recommendation to check that. There is no federal or state requirement
Okay.
to go beyond that.
So would you agree that maybe developing an in-house policy to address that would be good?
I would be happy to entertain it at a finance committee meeting if you wanted to discuss that further. We could look at the pros and cons of
Or
implementing such a
policy
thing.
meeting?
Yep.
How about the policy meeting?
Policy or
Policy
finance
committee.
are both kind of
Okay.
intertwined there. I think it's more finance if you ask me, but either one would be fine with me.
Okay, I think it's important.
Oh, and I have one more.
Ms. Arminio?
Is the contract for the ice rental also on this?
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
So, I know this has already been budgeted as well. It's $30,000 to rent the ice arena for the hockey team, is that
That's-
correct?
That's approximately correct.
Well, okay, yeah, well, it said it on the contract, so. Have we budgeted 60,000 though for that, I thought, maybe with transportation and other things? I mean, I think the cost of the whole thing is about 60,000, is that?
Yeah, perhaps you're thinking of other things, including with that, included in the sport.
Right.
But the ice rink is 30,000 here, and it's under new ownership, and all of the information is contained in the packet.
Yeah, I saw that, I did read it.
Unfortunately, there's not a lot of competitive options when it comes to searching for ice skating rinks, as I've learned.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? Then we'll have a roll call, Mr. Gorski.
Mrs. Arminio.
Yes.
Mr. Braverman.
Yes.
Mr. Chiarella.
Yes.
Mrs. DeMayo.
Yes, but recuse on G.
So noted. And on G, Mrs. DeMayo, you're referring to a recusal on your own appointment, not the rest of
Yes.
the boards, correct?
Right.
Thank you. Mrs. Lang?
Recusal on me on G, and yes for everything else.
So noted. Mrs. Carino?
Yes.
Mr. Ryback?
I have to recuse for myself on G and yes for everything else.
Thank you. Mr. Russo?
Yes.
Mrs. Kolpanovich?
I'm going to recuse for me on G, and yes for everything else.
Very good. Madam Board President, a motion passes. That concludes my report. Thank you.
Okay, Board President's report is very short this week. I mentioned this before. I was going to mention it during my report. Tomorrow morning, the steering committee will be meeting, and I hope we have some forward moving so that we can get a referendum on the ballot by March. We would need to have everything in place by September. So I think it will be a good start tomorrow. And my other item is for the board members. We get our agendas on Friday, but at this time of year, we're always adding staff every day, including today. So I think you need to make sure that you see your board docs either on Tuesday night or sometime on Wednesday so that you're up to date with everything and we don't have issues on having different agendas. If you feel like you need an updated agenda on Wednesday, we can have it sent to you. And that's my report. Then we'll go to other Board of Education business. Is there any other business from any member of the Board of Education? Ms. Arminio?
Yeah, I would like to present a resolution to go out for a proposal for a new or different auditor for the coming year, for the coming fiscal year.
Madam,
Auditor.
the auditor is approved already through the services required for the June 30, 18 audit. It would be the subsequent period, I believe, that Mrs. Arminio is referring to.
It was already, well, June 30th ends the fiscal year.
Correct, and the audit process continues until approximately November, December. But that would all be included in the current contract.
Which I think we approve at the organization meeting? Don't we approve the
Yes.
auditor at the organization meeting?
Well, then at the organization meeting, we approve them?
I
Okay, then
believe
I'd
so.
like to propose a resolution to do that for the following year.
So could you read your resolution?
My resolution is that what, for the fiscal year would start on, just give me the dates.
Yeah, may I help you with that?
Sure.
I believe you're looking at requesting that the board solicit an RFP.
Correct.
Request for proposal
Correct.
for board auditor services, board auditing services.
But I also don't think it should be, with the exclusion of the current one, I think we need to change it up a little bit and get a different one. So I wouldn't want it just for the same auditor.
The procurement laws require a competitive and open process called a request for proposal, but
Right.
during that process, the board can review qualitative and quantitative aspects of the contract and make a recommendation from there.
Okay, that's fine if you want to.
So if I may help you with the resolution.
Right.
You're moving a motion to the board
Correct.
to go out for a request for proposal for auditing services
Yes, for
for the period beginning for the fiscal year July 1st, 18 through June 30, 19.
That's correct. No,
Isn't
it would
that
have to
just
be,
started
you're
when
telling me.
July 1st, 2018 started.
July 1st, 18 started, yes, but that's the beginning of a new audit period.
Okay.
June 30, 18 is the conclusion of the last
Right.
audit period where the auditor is still engaged doing services for a few months afterwards.
Okay, but that's for the period that ended already.
Yes, ma'am.
So yes, so I would like it for the period beginning July 1st, 2018, until, yeah.
All right, so the motion was moved by Mrs. Arminio. Is there a second?
Second. Comments or questions?
Question. If we change auditors, are there any costs involved with that for changing over, aside from what the new charge would be?
There certainly could be. We've had the current auditor now for, I'd have to research when that began, but probably about 13, 14 years. And I go through a competitive procurement process with a lot of my colleagues where we share information about attorney rates, bond counsel rates, auditor rates per hour, engineer rates per hour, and things like that. So when we make a professional services recommendation to the board, we've done our due diligence. I will say that Mr. Stankiewicz's rates are at the lower spectrum, and you could wind up having requests for proposals come in higher. I can't tell the future, but and we could discuss as a committee if wished. There's also a practice that the board should be aware of submitting a low bid for the first year and then
Right.
coming in much higher to make it up. So it's hard to specifically answer that question, but I will say
Well,
that
maybe I
Mr.
wasn't clear, Mr. Gorski. I'm talking about not so much the fee for the accountant,
Okay.
but the actual, maybe you have to present or order different kinds of books or show things differently that would be incumbent upon us to pay for, aside from the fees that the new auditor would charge.
Believe it or not, the auditing standards are pretty consistent. No matter what auditing firm you bring in, they should be following the same government accounting standards to conduct the audit. But, the Samuel Klein and Company we have now is available and doesn't charge for every phone call that we make and every inquiry of, anything that may come up, and in this district usually does.
I have a question. So what would the process be now if this passes?
We would have to come up with a specification for the service, advertise, solicit firms to participate if desired. But it would be an open process for accounting firms who are licensed by the state to bid on being the board's auditor. And most importantly, everybody really needs to understand what you're buying with this service, offering a independent opinion on the board's financial statements. The financial statements that come every year in the comprehensive annual financial report are the representations of management, which is administration, mainly me in that area. It is the independent auditor's role to test and form an opinion on whether those statements conform with government accounting standards and state regulations, et cetera. So you technically, according to the standards of the profession, should be getting an extremely similar service, no matter which auditor performs it.
Anyone else? Okay, then I guess we'll have a roll call.
Mrs. Arminio.
Yes.
Mr. Braverman.
Yes.
Mr. Chiarella.
Yes.
Mrs. DeMayo.
No.
Mrs. Lang.
No.
Mrs. Carino.
Yes.
Mr. Ryback.
No.
Mr. Russo.
Yes.
Mrs. Koloponowicz.
No.
Madam Board President, simple majority is 5 yeas. Motion passes.
Okay. Any other board business? Mr. Braverman?
Yeah, I'd like to move that the Board of Education start the process of recruiting a permanent superintendent, that a committee construct a calendar for advertising, reviewing applications, reviewing applicants' credentials, and actual interviews, and other incidental components, and report back to the board with dates for the above at the August meeting, with time being of the essence. Further, although it might be unusual, I be the chair.
Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
I didn't hear the motion, please.
Do you have that written down so that I could read it to Mrs. Lang did not hear it?
If you could read my writing, I can.
Oh, well, then you'll
Never
have to read it, I guess.
I move that the Board of
Patty, can
Education
you hear
start
him?
the process of recruiting a permanent superintendent, that a committee construct a calendar for advertising, reviewing applications, reviewing applicants' credentials, and actual interviews, and other incidental components, and report back to the board with the dates for the above at the August meeting, with time being of the essence. Further, although it might be unusual, that I be the chair.
Did you hear that, Patty?
Yes.
Okay. Is there a second?
Yes, there was.
Second.
Second by Mr. Russo. Comments or questions? Okay, then we'll have a roll call, and I believe Ms. Guarino is recuse, abstain. I'm trying to figure out which one. Okay.
Mrs. Arminio,
Yes.
Mr. Braverman,
Yes.
Mr. Chiarella. Yes. Mrs. DeMayo,
No.
Mrs. Lang,
No.
Mrs. Carino. Thank you. Mr. Ryback?
No.
Mr. Russo?
Yes.
Mrs. Koloponowicz?
No.
Madam Board President, motion fails.
Any other Board of Education business? Okay, then we will go to public forum. Anyone wishing to speak, please come to the microphone, your name and address for the record, and we will adhere to this 4-minute timeline.
Prakash Parab, 33 Dana Drive. With respect to the funding, I appreciate what the board members said. It is a fact that we have received a drop in the bucket. So I do appreciate there's nothing wrong stating your opinion. I have more than 700 people, families, who follow me in my meeting, and everyone said same, everyone. But we do appreciate who went and lobbied, the families who lobbied, the mayor, even everyone from you who lobbied for the fair funding and our legislatures. Okay, we got 2 million, we appreciate that, but here the things doesn't stop. It's a $14 billion budget, and we get 5.6 million, and in next 5 or 7 years, we'll start getting 9 millions or something. So, I don't know with growth cap removal. So, appreciate, and taping to the planning committee, planning board, you came, one of you, as a citizen, not as a board member. Fine. You know, there is I think it is 384 acres of land, I understand, something the builder is going to build across Route 33, and 980 houses are planned. 600, so we are going, we went to the planning board, we are going to the planning board, and we are going to talk about it. Because impact to the school, impact to the enrollment, we have to ask questions, nothing wrong with that. How many trees they are going to cut? What is the impact to the environment? Even the Environment Commission has not reviewed that application. You know, I was told that the engineer in council, whatever planning board talks to the demographer here. So I'm starting to understand what's the process. We want to be transparent as a taxpayers. We all work for the betterment of our school and children, so we cannot forget that. Coming back to the business, the homework policy, when I met Dr. Alwich, the understanding, I met one-on-one with her, that there was a parent, you know, they sent a survey for the parents to get a feedback on the homework policy, and they look at that, and then get what is the best practices are followed in New Jersey and throughout the United States with respect to homework policy. That was supposed to be input in, and then we were supposed to come up with the best of the best. So I don't see the entire process. It is, homework policy I see is very vague. So I'll be meeting, I don't wait for the Board of Education. I go and meet our very friendly, the staff is there. I will go and talk to them, So we have to look at the homework policy, which should be the best, because we have to go into, all our goal is to produce the kids which are well talented in academia, sports, or whatever best interest they have. So we have to make sure the homework policy is very good and well done. Regarding referendum, President, what I'm requesting all of you is, again, we don't want a surprise to the public. So what is best needed for township, let us come up with a referendum, so we'll lobby for it. There'll be always naysayers, we cannot stop the naysayers. But at least we'll get majority support so that referendum goes through in March and we move forward. So those are my comments and nothing else. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, seeing no one, we will close the public forum and go to closed session resolution. Be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Township of Monroe hereby moves to go into closed session in accordance with the Sunshine Law, Chapter 231 of the Public Laws of 1975, NJSA 10:4-6 through 10:4-21, to discuss the following subjects: harassment, intimidation, and bullying, matters falling within the attorney-client privilege, including proposed confidential settlement agreement involving student 91268, and proposed Monroe Township Board of Education MTEA sidebar agreement. Following closed session, action may be taken. The discussion conducted in closed session can be disclosed to the public at such time as the need for confidentiality no longer exists. Mr. Mayo, Mr. Ryback, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Then the board will now move into closed session.
Mrs. Lang, I'll discontinue.
Okay, at this time, the board will move back into public session. And before I read a resolution, we have the public forum for closed session items only. If anybody would like to come to the microphone and talk about closed session. Okay, seeing no one, we will close that public forum. And I have a resolution. Whereas NJAC 6A:3-1.13D requires that a Board of Education provide a resolution authorizing settlement indicating that the District Board of Education has consented to the terms of the settlement. Be it resolved that the board hereby consents to settlement with family and student identification number 91268 pursuant to the terms of the release and settlement agreement attached hereto, and authorizes the Board of Education President, Ms. Kathy Kolopanowicz, to execute the agreement on behalf of the Board of Education. I need a second.
Second.
Ms. Arminio, any comments or questions? Then we'll have a roll call on this.
Mrs. Arminio.
Yes.
Mr. Braverman.
He left.
Yes. Mr. Chiarella.
Yes.
Mrs. DeMayo.
Yes.
Mrs. Lang is no longer participating. Mrs. Carino. Mr. Ryback.
Yes.
Mr. Russo.
Yes.
Mrs. Kolopanowicz.
Yes.
Madam Board President, motion passes.
Okay, our next scheduled Board of Education meeting is scheduled for August 22nd, 2018, 7 o'clock p.m. at the Monroe Township High School. Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Mr. Ryback and Ms. Arminio, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And then at this time, the meeting is adjourned.